twisting objects, health machines.
Greetings from Cyberdelic Space. This is Lorenzo, and I'm your host here in the Psychedelic Salon. And like I usually do, I would like to begin today's program by thanking fellow saloners Justin S. and Nigel B. for their very generous donations that will be used to help pay the costs of producing and distributing these podcasts. So, hey, thank you very much, Justin and Nigel. I really appreciate your support. Now, you may wonder what motivated me to get this week's podcast out so early. Well, you know, like most everybody else these days, I have my ups and downs, and yet each week I discover more and more little things falling into place, little synchronicities every day almost, and that's how it was with today's talk. Just before I began to preview it, I discovered that the people that were providing the service that hosted the comments on my matrixmasters.com site had given up, and that my 10 years of comments were all gone now. Now, I won't say what my first few thoughts were, but I quickly realized that I had to do something right away to keep that old downward spiral that we all seem to have, keep it away at bay somehow. So I started listening to this Alan Watts talk, and it was exactly what I needed to hear just then. Now, I can't promise the same experience for you. In fact, I hope you're not in a place where I was and actually need to hear something that resonates with the real you, the person you are when you're at your best. But even if you're in a good place right now, I think you're going to enjoy this talk. As I just said, it's by Alan Watts, and it was sent to me by fellow saloner Michael H., along with several other talks by Watts. But after checking some of the titles, I discovered that many of them were talks that were being sold by one or another of the companies that hold many of his copyrights, so those were off limits. But I did discover this one tape that no one seems to be selling, probably because of the topic, which is LSD. And you know how that subject scares the robot people. And so let's get back into an alchemist state of mind once again, because like a recent Terence McKenna talk I played not long ago, right now we are going to hear Alan Watts begin his lecture about LSD by telling another alchemist story. So let's join him now.
I wonder how many of you have ever read a romantic Victorian novel called Zanoni. It was written by Bulwer Lytton, and it's the story of an alchemist, an aristocratic, very good-looking man called Zanoni, who was several hundred years old, living in Naples shortly before the French Revolution. And he was several hundred years old because he had discovered the elixir of life, which was, of course, supposed to be the quest of all alchemists all over the world, not simply something that would turn lead into gold and give one indefinite riches, but the secret of immortality. And this was the quest of alchemy, both in the West and in the Far East. And many of the great emperors of China died because the Taoist priests gave them mysterious concoctions purporting to be the elixir of life. Zanoni had an apprentice, and one day while the master was out, the apprentice could not resist taking a very close look at some certain crystal bottles hidden in the depths of his cupboards. And this was the elixir. And he removed the stopper and took just a slight sniff. And then suddenly there appeared before him an absolutely monstrous being. And trembling, he put the stopper back into the bottle and faced this appalling apparition, which is called the dweller on the threshold. There's something or other one has to come to terms with before crossing the border into immortality. Now, today, we are living in an age which is quite peculiar, because in the world of science, there are no longer any secrets. Because the method of science requires that all scientists be in communication with each other. And therefore, that every scientist, as soon as he has discovered something or got a good idea, he rushes into print. And it's important for him to do so, because some other scientist somewhere else in the world might be thinking about something on the same lines and would be stimulated in his work by this man's speculations, even if not by discoveries. And so the whole scientific world tries to remain in communication. And for this reason, it was absolutely impossible to keep atomic energy a secret. In former ages, that might have been managed, because there were many secrets once upon a time. And people were not admitted to these secrets unless they were in some way tested and found capable of handling them without running amok. We live in such a dangerous age because all the secrets are out in the open and anybody can run amok with them. And that's just the situation we have to face, and that is just the situation we have to handle. It is too late to stop it, because that would be, as they say, locking the door after the horse has bolted. The vice president of an extremely important corporation in the United States, very progressive and very vital, a few months ago said, there are two major forces operating in the world today, for good or for evil. One is Red China, the other is LSD. And there is a certain reason why such a thing as a certain chemical, which is capable of opening people's minds in a certain way, should be something extremely disturbing. Because this particular chemical, in common with a number of others that have been known for centuries, but have been rather played cool through those centuries, is capable of doing something which simply cannot be tolerated. That is to say, capable of letting properly prepared individuals, or sometimes improperly prepared individuals, in on a secret which is very closely guarded, and which is, as a matter of fact, the deepest and most fundamental of all our social taboos. I have just finished writing a book, which I've had, with a sort of tongue-in-cheek attitude, had the temerity to call The Book. And it is subtitled, The Book, you see, on the taboo against knowing who you are. Because that is really the thing that cannot be let out. Sex is not really a serious taboo in our culture. If you are initiating a young person into life and you realize that your son or daughter is going to college and that you ought therefore to have a serious talk with them, they'll laugh at you and say, all this thing you're telling us about sex we knew years ago, and we know more about it than you do. So that is not a subject for a serious initiation talk to a young person. So we have to think again and try and find out, think deeply, what is fundamentally taboo in this culture and perhaps in other cultures as well. What information, in other words, would really let the cat out of the bag and give away the show? Now, quest around a bit. Ask yourself this: for what reason would a person be considered hopelessly insane? What